Divining Top, has Counterbalance, has Blood Moon, has 3 copies of Rest in Peace, which is
pretty unfortunate for Jason.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
He has to play against those. Has a copy of Helm of Obedience, so how he kills the opponent. Looking for Energy Field on this deck list. I don't think I see any. You only find one of these to be out of 2 to 4, because the combo of Energy Field plus Rest in Peace means they don't take any damage, but you don't actually find any here. And as far as his creatures, he's got 1 Vendilion Click, he has 1 Venture Shaper Savant, he has an Elspeth Knight Errant to be able to win the game with, and a Detention Sphere to be able to enlighten 2 to 4 as well. And of course, 3 copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Jason might be a bit of a dog.
A bit, between 2 copies of Enlightened Tutor to search up 3 copies of Rest in Peace. Jason's going to need a pretty absurd first 2 turns.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not a guarantee that Jack actually gets those cards into play on turn 2. And given what Dredge is capable of, he does have the Flamekin Zealot, and he can Dread Return for a Flamekin Zealot and get a bunch of creatures and start attacking for a lot of damage on turn 2 or 3. So Jason's certainly capable of doing a lot of damage on turns 2 or 3, but again, he's going to be under a lot of pressure to kind of win fast, given that Jack has, effectively 5 copies of Rest in Peace to shut off Jason's deck.
Yep. So Jason, a pretty accomplished Dredge player, again, does have at least 2 top 8s on the Open Series. Actually, I think I've covered both of his top 8 matches as well, which is kind of ironic. Definitely a West Coast player. Comes out to Vegas, seen him in San Diego at that Open Series. Actually saw him at the Invitational when we were in Los Angeles as well. I think he top 8'd on that day as well. So,
and it looks like both players kind of mulliganed at the same time. Do we know who's on the play? So it looks like Jack's on the play. So again, a little bit of a. They're both mulliganing to 5, I believe.
Yeah.
So
both players. Do you think maybe Jack's mulligan for Rest in Peace?
Well, I think Jason's certainly at an advantage here if both players are going down so low, because obviously we've seen Dredge win from mulligan to 3 before.
Yeah, were you there with me?
Dallas,
yeah, Dave Thomas.
So,
Dave Thomas.
Probably a bit of an advantage for Jason, because Jason, again, he mulligans aggressively with his deck anyway. But, again, with Jack being on the play, Jason's going to be under even more pressure to kind of win quickly, because Jack can always just get that Enlightened Tutor. It's basically a 1-card combo. Enlightened Tutor or Rest in Peace wins the game for him, more or less. So, again, mulligan to 5 isn't ideal for either player, but I think in general, Jason's a little favored. But the fact that Jack is just looking for 1 card anyway, I think isn't that bad for him either. And looks like they both know each other too, so they kind of know what each other's playing and what the matchup is all about. So I guess in that case, not too surprising.
Yeah, Jack is mulliganing.
Yeah, Jack is basically mulliganing to 2 lands and Enlightened Tutor or Rest in Peace.
Yeah. Friends, we have in quotations here.
Yeah.
No friend would mulligan for Rest in Peace.
Keep your friends close.
That's right.
And
your Rest in Peace closer.
Jack
immediately going to 4.
And Jason keeping. But the funny thing is, Jack is probably a little frustrated, but again, he just needs 1 card.
Yeah. So, 1 of the 5 and some lands, and that's it.
Yeah.
So. And you even saw when he looked at his 5 cards there, he just looked at him and said, nope, that's not Rest in Peace. I don't think so.
I do not have a Rest in Peace or a way to get a Rest in Peace.
That's right.
Now, it would be ironic if his 4-card hand was Enlightened Tutor, Rest in Peace, oh, which you would be forced to ship.
Would you keep?
I don't think you could keep that hand. Not on the play. You don't even get a draw step.
All
right. I think for drama's sake, you should have the 4-card hand should be 1 land, 3 Rest in Peace. That's sort of what I'm rooting for, just for the drama. And I hope the 1 land's a sack land too, so he thins his deck out. Yeah. Total drama. TNT. We know drama. So here we go, a mulligan to 4. And again, Jack is just searching for that Rest in Peace, knowing the matchup. Jason just...
1, 2, 3, 4.
See at least 1 land there. Not sure if I see it. Jack might be saying... Yeah, Jack might saying, I don't, maybe he doesn't have it, but, can you really go down to 3?
Yeah, tough to do. Definitely tough to do. I think I saw Sensei's Divining Top in there.
Okay, so Again, not the ideal hand that he was looking for, but you know, when you're at 4 cards, you know, there's not much else you can do.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
There's the Sensei's top. Pass the turn. And Jason is on a mulligan of 5 here. I mean, Dredge is obviously a very, very explosive deck, but
the thing is, the fact that Jason knows what Jack's deck is and what it's capable of, he could just be in a position where I'm just going to try to like dredge everything I can now and just get a bunch of zombies into play. Like maybe just flashing back a Cabal Therapy and getting like 3 zombies, that could be enough. If my opponent mulligan to 4,
sure,
you know, that could just be enough sometimes. So
you guys are going to see a Faithless Looting here from Jason. Golgari Grave Troll is one of the first cards that he has moved forward here. We'll see how he decides to discard. You also see a Bridge from Below in his hand as well. He's going to discard Golgari Grave Troll and Dalkmore Salvage, which is the Dredge land. Sensei's Divining Top on the upkeep here from Jack. You see a Rest in Peace among those cards, a Brainstorm and a Fetch land. So he has found what he's looking for. The other 2 cards in his hand, embarrassing in Entreat the Angels and Sensei's Divining Top. But he does draw a Polluted Delta, and he's just going to pass the turn back and cross those fingers.
Yeah, and because he kept a Rest in Peace on top of his deck, he protects it from Cabal Therapy. So Jason really needs to hit a Narcomoeba here and a Cabal Therapy to sort of just make some creatures. You know, he just wants to get some creatures into play so that he can have he can at least do something before Rest in Peace hits play. But
relevant cards on that Dredge for Jason: Bridge from Below and Cabal Therapy. You also see another Golgari Grave Troll, a Lion's Eye Diamond, a Gemstone Mine as well down there. So he does have a Faithless Looting and a Dalkmore Salvage as far as relevant cards in his graveyard, and we'll see what he's going to be able to do with them on this turn as he is thumbing back and forth through the cards.
I see a blue card. Not sure if that's actually a Breakthrough.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure as well.
Don't recognize the picture.
We'll see. Looks like there's a Promocephala Coliseum.
Oh, wow. So not a bad draw there.
And he does have Threshold, so he is going to bust this, and he's going to try to go crazy. So first 6 are going to be Golgari Grave Troll, Cabal Therapy, Breakthrough, City of Brass, Dread Return, and Narcomoeba.
So step 1, he's got at least a Narcomoeba.
6 more on the way.
Really needs a Cabal Therapy here.
Careful Study, Gemstone Mine, Narcomoeba number 2, Lion's Eye Diamond, Faithless Looting, and Lion's Eye Diamond number 3.
So now if he hits another Narcomoeba, he could at least flashback Dread Return. So
this Dalkmore Salvage is only going to be for 2.
Yeah, so he can hit a Cabal Therapy or another Narcomoeba. So doesn't get anything there.
Yeah, City of Brass and Cabal Therapy are the last 2.
Yeah. So a little unfortunate. I think he has to discard 3 cards now.
Yes, he does. And you see him sifting through his graveyard here, seeing the relevant Dredge cards in his graveyard. Do I have Cabal Therapies? Do I have Bridge from Belows? What Dredge cards do I have? And you see he's going to discard 3 cards from his hand, one of which is Bridge from Below, and likely going to be 2 other Dredgers here.
Yeah, and you know, we know Rest in Peace is coming, so you know those 2 Narcomoebas have a lot of heavy lifting ahead of them.
Yeah, and I feel like Jason probably knows that the Rest in Peace is coming too. You see a Flamekin Zealot in his hand. He's going to hold on to that. He's going to discard Bridge from Below, Golgari Grave Troll, and looks like he's only discarded 2 of 3. And he's considering between that Flamekin Zealot, which he can never really cast.
I don't know about that. He has 1 Gemstone Mine in play.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I definitely wouldn't discard it. You know, let's hope they get there. He's got City of Brass in his deck. He's got 1 Darkmoor Salvage, you know, which is a land. Oh, so he does have the Cabal Therapy.
Yeah,
okay.
He's hit a few Cabal Therapies.
Okay, so that's actually ideal for him because now he's going to be able to get at least I believe two tokens into play. So he's going to put some pressure. He's going to be able to put some pressure on him, and he can also flashback Dread Return if he wants. To just get a giant Golgari, or well, not a giant, but a relatively large Golgari Grave Troll.
Now the difficult thing here for Jason is, you know, if he does decide to flashback Dread Return, making a big Golgari Grave Troll, he's opening himself up to Swords of Plowshares in 2 turns, because Jack almost certainly has to cast Rest in Peace. And, you know, Jack also does have access to checking to see, he has 3 Terminus in his deck, so Rest in Peace is definitely going to be step 1 for Jack, and then it's going to have to be some fortunate draws for him along with the Sensei's Divining Top. But he is certainly not dead yet because Rest in Peace is coming.
Yeah, so given that he did in fact have the Cabal Therapy in his yard, maybe he wanted to discard the Flamekin Zealot. because I believe he would have been able to sack the 3 creatures that are currently on the board, targeting Dread Return, flashing back Dread Return, targeting the Zealot. But the Bridge from Below would have resolved first. He would have gotten 2 tokens, and I think he could have swung for 9 this turn.
Yeah, he could have swung for 9 exactly this turn.
So putting Jack on basically a 2-turn clock.
But instead, he's just going to leave those things here. He draws his card, Jack does, and immediately turns it over. Sacks the Polluted Delta, plays the Rest in Peace. Jason immediately moves his cards from the graveyard to exile. And you see Jack is pretty thrilled about this. You know, he's facing down 2 2/2s and a Narcomoeba, so we're looking at a 4-turn clock. So he's certainly doing okay right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you just, I think if you flash back the Dread Return, you still end up with 2 zombies, but you get a bigger creature, and either a Golgari Grave Troll or you know, a Flame Quinzella had he discarded it, but maybe your clock is a little bit bigger. But again, I mean, he's got 4 turns. Hopefully Jack doesn't draw a Terminus to pretty much seal the game away. But
top in the upkeep, you see a Tundra, an Island, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor here by Jack. Jack, again, is going to need some fortunate Sensei's Divining Tops right now. He's not underneath a ton of pressure, but again, we're looking at a 3-turn clock. Island going to come into play. Next top going to come in as well.
Yeah, and you know, again, as long as he has a 4th land, Jace should be able to clean up things pretty nicely. You know, he can set up the Entreat the Angels on top of his deck, and then you know, I think that he should have enough turns to sort of set that up. Although he does have a City of Brass for the Flame Zealot.
He's actually getting
red,
white is the Zealot.
Yeah, I think he should have played the City of Brass in case he drew another Gemstone Miner City of Brass.
I agree with that.
Because now we can actually top deck a land to cast the Flame Zealot.
Yep.
So looks like another top. Looks like he has the 4th land for the Jace, so he can choose to bounce a token, but that would leave him without a Jace because Jason would likely attack the Jace. Or he can just sort of try to set up and Entreat the Angels for the following turn. So he plays the 4th land, activates his top to draw the Jace the Mind Sculptor, plays the 4th land, casts the Jace the Mind Sculptor, brainstorms, puts Entreat the Angel on top of his deck, and then he can Entreat for 2, which means it's pretty good shape for him.
That's likely what we're going to see. We see Jace the Mind Sculptor here.
Yeah, and this is great because if Jason does decide to attack the Jace, then he basically fogs for the turn and still sets up the Entreat the next turn.
Yeah.
But even if he does decide to attack Jack, Jack just goes to 3, and then he makes 2 Angels, which can block any of the creatures. And even if Jason tries to attack with everything, he'll only be able to drop Jack to 2. So Jack can pretty much take the control of the game from there.
Faithless Looting the draw step here for Jason. You're going to see Cabal Therapy here from Jason as well. And, well, actually, no, you're just going to see Faithless Looting right away. Okay, I apologize. So hit 1, hit 2. Stinkweed Imps are the draws.
A little more. Again, I'm not in love with the idea of. Actually, he can cast Dread Return next turn. He can just hard cast Dread Return. Oh, but no, they're removed from the game. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of wish he kept the Flame Quinzella just because he's just 1 mana away from casting it, and he can always flash back Faithless Looting next turn. And again, the Stinkweed Imp's not going to be doing much. You're probably going to end up. You can't really cast it because you know you're going to lose your Gemstone Mine. So.
Mm-hmm. You saw Jason take care of the Jace and then come across for 2 with the zombie. It's going to put Jack down to 6. Again, 2-turn clock. You're going to see the Gemstone Mine go away. Stinkweed Imp's going to join the party. So what looks to be a pretty good situation for Jason has just gotten a whole lot worse now because of Entreat the Angels, which Jason knows about from a Cabal Therapy much earlier in the game.
So I think, you know, Jason sort of had to play the game expecting that to happen. The thing is that if Jason knows the Entreat the Angels is coming, he can basically just attack Jack down to 3 and play the Stinkweed Imp. This turn, he would have been able to attack with everything. Jason probably just blocks the 2 tokens, drops Jack down to 1, and then you can play another Stinkweed Imp here, and suddenly you have 3 attackers that could theoretically kill Jack.
Well, the problem with that is that, you know, the entire time, if that's the line of play he takes, there's still a Jace that's still on the table.
Oh, granted, Jack certainly has outs because he still has a Jace, he's still brainstorming. But realistically, I think the only chance Jason has of winning this game is hoping that Jack just blanks 2 turns, because this line of play really isn't doing much for him. Jack's going to be able to block a Narcomoeba and a Stinkweed Imp, and then he'll be left with 1 Angel that can block the remaining Stinkweed Imp. So, and he still has Sensei's Divining Top in play. So, again, it's Jason's back is against the wall because of that Rest in Peace.
Yep.
But I do think he had a couple of lines of play that could have been a little different. But it looks like we have a Counter Spell and a Brainstorm on top of Jack's deck. So Jack looks to be in pretty good control right now.
And he does just pass the turn back here. 2/4/4 Angel standing tall. Jason going to take a draw step, draws a Dread Return, has a Cabal Therapy in his hand. You see he's going to take one from a Cephalid Coliseum. You're going to see a careful study here. So draw 2 cards. Going to have to discard 2. Narcomoeba and Bridge from Below are the draws.
So that Narcomoeba is actually pretty good. He can at least because the Stinkweed Imps have Death Touch, they can in fact die. Oh, so timely Vendilion click here.
He's going to target himself, put a Sensei's Divine Top on the bottom, and you're going to see some blocks here from Jack. He's just going to clear up everything, get everything out of the way. Jason's going to have a follow-up Narcomoeba with Jack at 4. He's going to take a point of damage from the City of Brass to do that, but again, that's a 4-turn clock. That gives Jack a ton of Sensei's Divine Top activations, and he actually does just have an Angel token left, so It's not going to do very much for him right now, as you're going to see a Sensei's Top activation on the upkeep.
Yeah, it looks like he's got another Jace, so he can just bounce from Narcomoeba and just start attacking with the Angel. So yeah, pretty good top 3 cards for Jack.
As Jack does draw a card here, he's going to sacrifice that Polluted Delta, move down to 3 life. But again, 3 is not 0, and Jace the Mind Sculptor is going to make sure that he never does hit 0. As he does search out an island here, going to present his deck over to Jason. In just a moment, I think, Osip, we are going to see the best Planeswalker ever printed hit the table.
The mightiest Planeswalker. 6-mana Sorin. So, Pat Chapin's invitational card enters play. We have a Fate Seal.
I'm perfectly okay with this, honestly.
It's fine.
I don't think he needs to. I don't think he needs to do anything like bounce an Archweave and start attacking, because I mean Jason can't attack, so he can just kind of control the game with Fate Sealing. He basically has complete control of the game now, which is obviously what Jace the Mind Sculptor does. As you see, a Swords of Plowshares is the card that is moved to the top. He's going to draw that. Fate Seal that. He could just Swords the Narcomoeba and start bashing it, and then he's attacking Jason from 2 ridiculous angles of Fate Sealing him and attacking for 4 points of damage.
This is my only issue with this play, is that, and we talked about this before, it's like people try, like you have 2 clear paths to victory. Jack is just choosing the slower path, which I don't like, because your deck is very slow. You know, what happens if Jason wins the next game very quickly and we go to a long drawn-out game 3? We could be looking at our 3rd draw in a row.
Sure.
You know? It's like, when you can win the game, try to win the game as quickly as possible. There's very, very, and I'm not talking about being overly aggressive or playing too recklessly, but you can certainly, bouncing the Narcomoeba with Jace at this point and, plowing another one, just try to kill him. But, again, Jace will win him the game. He's going to be able to just ultimate Jace's ability in a couple of turns, but maybe the Angel just wins the game a little more quickly. So,
see a Blood Moon being pushed to the top here as well, and then he doesn't have red mana to cast that right now unless he has a fetch land in his hand. But you are going to see a Fate Seal move Jace up to 11, and Jack deciding if he wants to let him keep that or if not. And he's just going to pass the turn back and just sit behind the Angel. Cephalid Coliseum comes in, passes it back. You'll see a top activation here from Jack. Counterbalance, along with 2 islands. So Jack will take that counterbalance, even though it's going to be pretty difficult for Jason to never cast any relevant spells. Fate's still going to take place. And we're going to bring Jace the Mind Sculptor up for you guys really quickly as well. Just, we don't normally get to Ultimate Land with Jace.
No.
So some people don't know how much it costs or exactly what it does. As you do see Counterbalance come on here for Jack. Got him in a bit of the, I guess you'd call this the hard lock. if you want to.
Yeah. Somewhat of a hard
Yeah,
lock.
if you want to call this a hard lock, you can. But it is, of course, -12. Exile all cards from target player's library. Then that player shuffles his or her hand, which look to be about 2 cards for Jason, into his or her library.
Jack ended the game with a Rest in Peace, Counterbalance, Sensei's Divine on top, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor against his opponent's Dredge deck.
So is
Pretty solid board state.
So is that the hard lock?
Somewhat hard lock, yes. And 1 Angel token. So, you know, again, things not looking too good for Jason considering what he's up against. And again, they're friends, so Jack is aware of Jason's sideboard plan.
Yep.
So typically where Jason might catch a few people off guard, not so sure that's going to happen with Jack here.
Yeah, and if you follow the Open Series at all, especially when we're on the West Coast out here, you know, I live in Seattle, so I have the pleasure of doing a lot of the West Coast events. But yeah, I've seen Jason with this sideboard a lot, and he always does shuffle in the 15 cards, as you should when you're sideboarding in Magic. He does shuffle in those 15 cards and keeps his opponent guessing. So even, you know, I'm sure Jack and Jason probably do playtest together a little bit, and Jack knows that this is coming. At least knows the threat of this is coming. Now, is he going to sideboard in this package of Painter's Servant, Grindstone, Enlightened Tutor, and Unmask? That we don't know, which is smart of him to sideboard in those 15 cards, shuffle in, and decide exactly what he wants to do. And as you see him sideboarding right now, you see him pulling Narcomoebas at the bottom. You see him, you know, pulling Bridge from Below's away, and he knows that opponent has Rest in Peace, so maybe it's time to change to the old Painter's Servant, Grindstone. There aren't any Emrakul's or Eldrazi, you know, looming in Jack Caldwell's deck.
Well, the good thing for Jack is that because he has the Enlightened Tutor, he doesn't need to board in he can kind of hedge his bet in terms of what he thinks Jason's going to do. Because, you know, Enlightened Tutor for Pithing Needle is pretty good against the Painter's Servant plan.
Sure.
So he can board in 1 Pithing Needle. He can board in Humility, which is, you know, Humility is not bad against, you know, either version. You know, you make all the zombies 1/1s, it's fine. A Moat, again, Moat can come into as an Enlightened Tutor target. And there's a couple of cards he probably doesn't want in his main deck anywhere. Probably doesn't need Elspeth.
Just much too slow.
Probably doesn't need Venser. You know, again, I don't think he needs the Helm of Obedience or the Blood Moon, because his game plan is pretty much, once I figure out what your plan is, I'm either going to get a Rest in Peace or, you know, a Pithing Needle or like a Relic for Genesis, like a Raptor's Cage or something like that. So
yeah, it's kind of amusing that he actually does have access to Pithing Needle in his sideboard here, along with Relic for Genesis, because that covers both halves of the combo. Maybe a little inbred testing going on there. Tired of losing to Jason back at the local store, but now his Enlightened Tutors are getting even better now because, as you said, you know, he can search for Rest in Peace, he can search for Relic, and he can also draw those in his opening hand, and then if Jason is going to sideboard into the Painter's Servant Grindstone combo that Jack does know that Jason has, he can just tutor up the old Pithing Needle, name Grindstone, and that part's taken care of as well. So I think this is the definition of a bad matchup here for Jason.
Yeah, well, you know, whenever you're a Dredge player and you're playing against someone who's main deck Rest in Peace, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But the fact that Jack knows Jason and he knows his deck list and he knows what his plan is after board, it makes it even that much harder.
Yeah.
Because Jack's probably well aware of what I need to do to win. And you saw that in game 1 with him mulliganing aggressively, you know? Whereas, you know, if Jack's going into this match blind, maybe he keeps a hand with just like a Jace, maybe a counterspell, or like an Entreat the Angels or a Sensei's Divine Tap or something, which is a reasonable hand against some decks, but obviously not very good against Dredge. So, you know, the fact that he has perfect information and that he has these hateful cards in his main deck makes it a pretty tough matchup for Jason.
You see Jason, he's going to take a mulligan down to 6 here, and Jack is pretty content keeping a 7. If you're Jason, that's got to be a little bit scary.
Yeah.
You know, he did mulligan to Jack mulligan to 4 last game, was actually able to win, so keeping 7 cards is probably a disaster.
Worst case scenario is that Jack actually has an Enlightened Tutor and a Rest in Peace in his hand, because that covers both sides of the combo. So the fact that Jack isn't mulliganing makes me think that he at least has one of the two.
Yep.
Along with maybe like a counterspell or a brainstorm or something like that. So Jack looks to be in good shape, especially with Jason mulliganing.
You see Jason has a couple careful studies, an Enlightened Tutor, a Dockmar Salvage in his hand. So we'll see if he's going to be able to find out exactly what he's looking for. And understand that, you know, his deck can go off on turn 3 now. As you do see Dockmar Salvage. He can go off on turn 3 with the Painter Grindstone combo. And we're going to see a Tundra into a...
So we have the Grafdigger's Cage.
Okay, so he has a cage. Gemstone Mine. So we're going to see a careful study here. Draw 1 Enlightened Tutor, draw a Gemstone Mine. Stinkweed Imp and Enlightened Tutor are the cards that are going to be discarded.
Interesting that he would ship the Enlightened Tutor.
Well, he has 3 in his hand now.
Okay.
Yeah. Jack going to draw a card, draws a Brainstorm for the turn.
And Jack does have a Detention Sphere for either a Painter Servant or a Grindstone. So Jason's not able to use everything in the same turn.
Unmask the draw for Jason, a card that we will bring up for you guys on screen. Not a horribly popular card in Legacy, but it's always been, you see this card from Dredge decks quite a bit. Just a way to kind of push things through, but it is a unique discard spell. You see Bridge from Below and City of Brass, the draws there from Jason.
And the tricky thing here for Jason is that he needs to have a black card to actually pitch to unmask.
Yeah.
And probably question is, does he want to do it now? Probably wants to wait until he can actually go off with this combo.
You're going to see a Brainstorm here. Terminus, Tundra, and a mystery card, which is Entreat the Angels. So a couple of miracles drawn for Jack this turn, but those aren't really going to be too useful right now. You best believe that Jack is hoping to run into, Enlightened Tutor right now. Cover his bases that way, because if he is able to find an Enlightened Tutor, he'll be able to find a Pithing Needle, and that's going to put this game on ice.
Well, the tough situation for Jason is that Jack does have a Vandalia click, so if Jason does cast one of the Enlightened Tutors in his hand at the end of Jack's turn, then Jack is probably just going to cast Vandalia click on Jason's upkeep and steal whatever he searched for. Feeling pretty confident that he'll be in good shape to not die that turn anyway, so pretty rough spot for Jason. Not sure, Jack doesn't have a ton of action cards. I mean, like you said, he's got a Terminus, he's got a Detention Sphere, and he really just has a Vendilion click, but that click can be huge, especially if Jason uses the Enlightened Tutor. So it looks like that sequence might actually take place.
You are going to see Enlightened Tutor here, and we'll see which piece he's going to search for first, if he chooses to find the Painter Servant first, or if he's looking for the Grindstone. He also does have the option of searching for Lion's Eye Diamond as well, but he is going to find a Grindstone right away here.
I actually like the getting the Grindstone, because you don't want to, it's only 1 mana, so you can use the Darkmoor Salvage. You don't have to use one of your Gemstone Mines to cast it, whereas the Painter Servant costs 2.
And you're going to see in the draw step here, Vendilion Click has arrived as you just as you thought it would. You see a Grindstone, Enlightened Tutor, and an Unmask in Jason's hand. Would be very surprising if you don't see that Grindstone go down to the bottom now.
Yeah, so again, Jason's not in the worst shape because Jack's hand isn't very good. So Jason can draw another side of the combo and still have an Enlightened Tutor to search for another piece. The only issue is Jack does have a Detention Sphere.
Yep.
And Jason doesn't have another black card to use to unmask him. So Jason just doesn't have a lot of cards to work with right now, and one of his Gemstone Mine only has 1 counter left. So he's in a pretty tricky spot right here.
So he's going to draw a card. He draws Stinkweed Imp, but a little surprising there, he let him keep the Unmask here. So he actually draws a black card, which is actually perfect. So you can actually cast Unmask. And you see the hand of Polluted Delta, Arid Mesa, Terminus, Entreat the Angels, and that Detention Sphere. So you can assume also that Detention Sphere is going to be the one that leaves, and then he can cast a Grindstone. And now he only needs to put together one more piece of the combo.
Yeah, that's actually huge, because if Jack actually takes the Grindstone, then he effectively takes away one of the draw steps. But again, because Jack actually wouldn't have been able to cast the piece this turn. How much is Grindstone to activate?
3.
3, right?
3 mana to activate.
So he's not actually going to be able to win the turn he plays the Servant.
Now the surprising thing here is that he elected to take Terminus with the Unmask, and I'm not quite sure exactly what Terminus does in this game, as you're going to see Polluted Delta get sacrificed here. Going to search out an island, as Jack did draw Jason the Mind Sculptor for the turn. I am truly surprised that he would take Terminus there instead of Detention Sphere. Detention Sphere seemed to be the only card in Jack's hand that would really have a huge impact on this game.
Yeah, so Jack's got the Fate Seal going. He knows there's only 1 card I really care about. And you're right, the tension sphere can come down next turn and take out the grindstone, which would pretty much, I wouldn't say lock up the game, but put it in a pretty, Jack in a pretty dominating position. And I agree with you, taking the tension sphere seems like the ideal play there because, you know, even though your paths to victory are pretty narrow, you know, not taking the tension sphere is basically giving Jack a way to deal with your grindstone.
And so now you see Jack to be able to come at Jason from many different angles here. He has the tension sphere to take care of that grind, so it means that Jason is going to have to assemble 2 more pieces of the combo through Jason Mind Sculptor Fate Sealing, which is very difficult to do, but also his life total is under attack here from Vendilion Click. So Jason has a lot to take care of, and he's not going to have a lot of time to do it in. Jason's going to keep on ticking up. Jason's life total is going to keep on going down, and just looking at the deck list, I can't imagine a way for Jason to pull this one out. It seems like it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, again, you know, Jack, he doesn't have a rest in peace, but you know, or Pioneer or anything, but he's, you know, it's still really difficult for Jason to sort of set up that combo through like all of the hateful cards that Jack has.
And you did see there, Jack decided not to, as he's going to come across with a Vendilion Click, he decided not to Detention Sphere that Grindstone. He did Fate Seal, and Jason's draw step for the turn was Lion's Eye Diamond. So one thing to keep in mind here is that if he actually does draw Painter's Servant, he can combo off. Yeah, if Jack never pulls the trigger on this Detention Sphere, as you're going to see him put a card on the bottom here, he can actually win the game.
Yeah, and you know, I wonder if he'll just use it this turn. Or I guess not. So Jason does have a turn. He could top deck.
Well, let's see here. He's going to play a land. And he does pass the turn.
All right, so let's see if the Painter's Servant.
Grindstone.
Another Grindstone.
And he can't play that one. He does just pass the turn back.
So yeah, I agree with you. Because of the Lion's Eye Diamond, he could actually just activate the Grindstone the turn that he plays it. And again, maybe that's just something that Jack forgot about. But again, as long as the Fate Seal keeps the card on top, Jack's still in a good place. Yep. And frankly, the only card that I chip to the bottom, I think, at this point is Painter's Servant.
It's Painter's Servant, yeah. Everything else can stay, especially with the draw step of Jack being a rest in peace. The graveyard wasn't mattering much to begin with, but it certainly doesn't matter now, and I'm very surprised that he's not casting any of his spells, just keeping his mana open. I quite don't understand it, but in any event, Jason does draw a City of Brass. He has an Unmask in his hand as well. Unmask not going to be able to do a ton here. But you are going to see him cast that right now. Gemstone Mine is going to leave play. The other one's going to go down to 1 counter. And Jack is going to reveal a hand of Detention Sphere, Rest in Peace, Terminus, and Entreat the Angels.
And, you know, he didn't take the Detention Sphere last time.
He's certainly going to take it this time.
Decides to take it this time. And again, still has some options. I mean, he could still top deck.
And it's
wow, and he actually plays out the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Well, it's safe to play it now, just because there's no Detention Sphere.
Granted, but I don't know. I think the fact that Jack wasn't, it seemed like Jack wasn't aware, forgot about the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Sure.
So I might have just like kept that information a little secret.
Now
but it looks like there's, but he doesn't have, well, he doesn't have mana to cast Force of Will. So.
Yeah, so now you see a Brainstorm here. So switching gears with the Jason the Mind Sculptor.
I think Lion's Eye Diamond might have said, whoops, wait a second.
Yeah.
Maybe just realized what was up. But again, Jason's only at 4, so, you know, he just has to dodge. He just has to dodge the Painter's Servant for 1 turn, or 2 turns. Yep, he's leaving 5 mana up for Force of Will.
Jason's going to draw a card.
It is a
Cephalid Coliseum. Yes, it is. Let's just pass the turn back. You're going to see a top activation on the end of turn here from Jack. Entreat the Angels is one of the cards there, so he could actually just draw that and end the game right now.
I would try to do that. You can just win the game, right? All right, so decides to just, again, I mean, he can Fate Seal right now, and he still has the Force of Will, so pretty good shape. Yep. I don't think he's too concerned. Did he activate Jace this turn, or
Hasn't yet.
hasn't yet? So, well, yep, looks like a Fate Seal. Are we going to keep it? Is it a Stinkweed Imp?
It could be anything. If it ain't Painter's Servant,
well,
it's staying up there.
Maybe if it's a Stinkweed Imp, he just doesn't want to block her. But again, you know he's got a Entreat the Angel on top of his deck, so.
Jason draws a card. It's a careful study.
So.
And the problem here for Jason is that he has to do it off a Gemstone Mine because he is at 1 life. So playing a... Okay, so he's going to draw 3 and discard 3. But again, he's still at 1 and he's already played a land for the turn. So not quite sure how he's going to cast Painter's Servant if he draws 1, which he's not, and he doesn't. So Jason Bulkowski does concede to Jack Colwell. Jack wins 2-0 in two, relatively close games, all things considered, and what I feel to be a pretty bad matchup for Jason in his dredge deck.